Jimmy Fallon was visited last night by Reggie Fils-Aimé and Shigeru Miyamoto. They came to show off Super Mario Run, but they also unveiled the Switch. Super Mario Run looked really fun, and I can't wait until the 15th, but I really want to talk about the Switch. We already knew that Breath of the Wild was coming to the Switch, so part of me was hoping that we would see a different game when they lifted that question block and Jimmy pretended to be surprised. First off, we see Link in yet another outfit. I like the idea that Link is constantly upgrading and changing his gear throughout the game. That's something that I forgot about until just now. In Breath of the Wild, the gear that Link acquires throughout his adventures has stats. This is something that's new to the Zelda franchise. In the past, Link would have one or two tunics that would impart special abilities. Maybe Link could swim faster, or hold his breath longer, or be resistant to fire. But in Breath of the Wild, getting a new tunic might happen more often. And I'm excited about getting this kind of progression coming to a Zelda game. At one point, Reggie uses a boulder and some explosives to kill a group of bokoblins that are camping out and cooking up some meat on a fire outside some ruins. In the distance, you can see a rock formation that's shaped like a skull, and I can totally see Link scampering up the side of this rock face and crawling through the eye to find a dungeon or a secret of some kind. Perhaps a bokoblin is chilling out inside and willing to give you some rupees. It's a secret to everybody, you know. One thing that I've always noticed about Breath of the Wild was that the grass always looks a little pixelated. I didn't see any of that in the Switch version, but it was hard to tell because we were looking at it on a projection on a screen on a TV show. So that might actually still be there. It was hard to say. But the grass looked crisp. I didn't really notice any frame rate issues that we've seen in past videos. But then again, people are always complaining about frame rates in games, and I don't usually notice issues like that unless it's severe. Jimmy was chomping at the bit to play, but Reggie had to get through his whole sales pitch. Reggie pulled the console out of its dock, and I know he's a big guy, but damn if this console does not look super thin in his hands. I don't think this thing is going to be heavy in your hands, which is a really good thing. That's something that I always noticed about the Wii U gamepad, is that it felt heavy when I was playing it. It was fine if you're sitting on the couch, but if you are holding it up at all, like I tend to do when I play at my desk, it just feels heavy after a while. And that's not a good thing. While Reggie was holding the console in his hand, we got a good look at the top. And we could see just a few things there. We could see a spot for game cartridges, although for some reason, I thought that those were going in on the bottom. I'm not sure why I thought that. There's also a vent that you can see, which we already knew was going to be there from previous videos. There's a few other things that we can also see. I believe on the left-hand side, there's a power button, and it looks like it's slightly recessed so you can't turn the console off by accident. Just to the right of this possible power button, there seems to be a slightly wider, and I'm not sure, but this could be the button that puts the Switch into sleep mode. This is something that we're going to be giving up by losing the clamshell design of the 3DS. It was always very satisfying to snap your 3DS closed to take care of something quickly, rather than save your game and turn it off. I hope that this button is the equivalent of closing the clamshell, so it automatically just puts it into sleep mode and saves. It doesn't actually save your game, but it holds on to where you were, so you don't have to worry about saving. You can stop playing quickly and move on with your life. That's a really big feature for portable system. Between the cartridge slot and the vent, there's what looks to be a 3.5mm headphone jack. I really think that this should have been on the bottom of the console, as it's more ergonomic. You don't have a wire that's going into on the top and then down behind the console while you're playing it. It'd be much better if that was coming out of the bottom. However, I understand why they did this because of the kickstand feature. you want to still be able to plug your headphones in while it's sitting on a table and you're playing it. Speaking of the bottom of the console, at one point Jimmy is showing off that he knows a lot about the system, and he pulls the kickstand out. You can't see very much on the bottom because his hand is covering it, but it definitely looks like it's a USB-C connector. To either side of this power port, we can see 2 more holes, which might be screws, but I couldn't really tell. It looked like the screen had a lot of glare on it, but a TV show isn't really the best place to be playing something like that. There's lights all over the place, and I really hope the screen is a lot more like my iPad screen. My iPad hardly has any glare at all, and it always looks great unless I angle it exactly in the wrong position. I worry that the Switch isn't going to have a glare-resistant coating like the iPad does, but, we'll see. The one thing that I really did notice and I really liked was that Jimmy asked a very good question, a question that we all wanted to know, although Reggie dodged it. The question was, so this is the actual machine. Is there anything left on this? And he's motioning toward the cradle where you plug the console in. Now, like I said, Reggie dodged the question, but I don't think he was being evasive. I think he has things that he plans on saying and was just focusing on his own narrative. And while Jimmy is famous for being excited about just about everything, Reggie probably wasn't expecting a late-night talk show host to be quite so excited to play. Again, I really wish that they had shown a different game. We already knew Breath of the Wild was coming to the Switch. Show us that Mario game.